The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
I'm screaming louder than that. I'm screaming louder than that. Leaving you with no choice. With no choice. I really hope that you're ready. You're gonna hear my voice. Welcome to my story.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Black Films That Teach. I'm joined in studio this week by Juliet Mawusi. We're talking about your documentary, Black Father. Thank you for being on the show again. We've had you here before.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. It's exciting to be back here.
Yeah, so tell us about what is Black Father about?
Well, my Black Father film is about addressing the stereotypes of absentee fathers. You know, the media have, made us believe that, if you see, let's say 5 black kids wandering around, definitely 3 of them didn't have fathers or something. But we haven't even asked the questions. We haven't asked the whys. Why do we always think that way? All those kind of things. So we just assume what we see in the society right now. So the film is coming from the different angle. It's going to be answering the questions. There are some situations that sometimes, make these fathers go away. It's not just, no father will just give birth and just decide to walk away or just decide to be irresponsible. I'm not also withstanding the fact that absentee black fathers is not a thing. It is a thing. But why is it a thing? That's what this film is about.
Okay. And so with that in mind, what do you hope that the audience will take away from the story?
Education, just to educate themselves. And also, mainly educate themselves, because we've been fed too many things, too many negative things, like stereotypes, myth, all those kind of things. We've been fed so many of them. So this film will come from the positive angle and then educate them about some of the issues that leads to that,
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break, and the audience is going to watch your documentary, and then we'll come back and have a little chit-chat. All right. We're going to watch Black Father, but before we do, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, TD, for sponsoring the show, and let's get into it.
Welcome to my story.
Hi, my name is Shay, and I grew up without my father. I remember the police busting in our home over a Friday dinner, destroying things, arresting my dad aggressively. I remember my mother, my 2 siblings, my Uncle Paul, crying out and trying to save him, but it took him away.
Black men were particularly targeted for very, very brutal treatment.
Having a proper figure, a consistent male figure, you're out in the streets, you're trying to be like your next coolest buddy, the older head that you hang with.
Need to address the root causes of father absence as opposed to just focusing on father absence as an issue.
Family was under siege and under attack from the very beginning.
It's not always the father's fault. There's mothers that push their kid, their baby fathers away from their kid. So it's not always the father's fault. I knew that for a fact.
Families were brought here. They were torn away from their families.
Definitely. They're all judging by, they don't know us, but they assume that we all grew up the same.
Well, my name is Robert Wright, and my background is in social work. And currently I serve in two roles. I serve as the Executive Director of the People's Counseling Clinic, which is a pro bono, community-based mental health clinic that I started 6 or 7 years ago now. And I'm also the Acting Executive Director of the African Nova Scotian Justice Institute. When I started my career in the early 90s, I was, one of the first jobs I had was as a student support worker. And student support workers were working in schools, helping at-risk youth who were at risk of dropping out of school. And that was kind of code language for Black inner-city boys. The work started because we recognized that Black boys were perhaps the most at risk, not just of dropping out of school, but of dropping out of school and not being positively and legally connected to the workforce, and then resulting in substance use and abuse and trafficking problems and criminal problems as well. You need to remember that was the early 90s. So we were just coming out of the 80s, and crack and substance abuse was rampant, and we were really concerned about those social problems, and Black men were overrepresented in that problem.
We could take this back to the enslavement of African people. There's the separation of mothers and fathers, and the removal of fathers from their families, the denial of opportunities for them to be in their families. Some of that multi-generational trauma, continues to be paid forward. And so part of what we have to do, I think, is disrupt some of that. So how do we disrupt that? One of the other things that we know is that Black men are, they experience a lot of over-surveillance. There's a lot of issues with regards to education. If you don't have an education as a Black man, you're not getting a job that's going to pay you the kind of money that you want to and need to earn to really support your families. And so all of those things are things that we have to address. We need to address the root causes of father absence as opposed to just focusing on father absence as an issue.
My name's Shaquan Downey. I'm 25. I'm from North Preston, Canada, Nova Scotia.
How has your fatherhood journey been like?
Up and downhill. Good times, bad times. Definitely trying to work for a better relationship with my father at the moment. But it gets rough. But it's all love.
Your dad, what happened?
I'm grown now, so I understand how relationships are, and my parents fought a lot. So honestly, them being together wouldn't have been good, especially for us to see them fight and stuff like that. It's their personal relationship.
So let's be clear about one thing. Relationships are hard. Being in a couple relationship is very challenging. Being in a relationship where you're co-parenting is very challenging for everyone. I don't think that Black men start out by deciding, I'm going to be an absentee father, I'm going to be irresponsible. I don't think anyone sets out with that as a decision. But I think people get caught up with things.
They're all judging by, they don't know us, but they assume that we all grew up the same. I got a lot of people who grew up, I did, and had their fathers in life, but still, you can't judge a book like that.
So the negative stereotyping of Black men has been going on for generations. But there isn't the attention paid to what's really going on in the lives of Black men. So that's some of the research that I've done. It's really looking at what positive things are happening in the lives of Black men and the lives of Black fathers. How can we take what positive things we see happening with Black fathers and replicate that You know, how do we encourage other black men to follow suit?
As a black man myself, I was very, very early sensitized to the idea that we're extremely at risk as a group of people, and there wasn't a lot of things really targeting our specific needs.
I believe that society teaches men that they're supposed to be a certain way. There's expectations around what masculinity is. There are expectations around what black masculinity is. You're supposed to be in charge. In charge of who? And so I think that part of what we have to do is change society's perceptions of what it is to be a black man, what it is to be a father, what it is to be a black father. And we need to set new parameters around what that means and how we help people to be the best that they can be. I don't think we have enough of those conversations. I did a program a number of years ago with black men in the Atlantic region who were in prisons around fathers. And it was probably one of the best programs I've ever done. And essentially in that program, what I was doing was working with these men and basically saying, you're here. You know, if you're in federal prison, it means you're doing more than 2 years. If you're a father, what does that mean? How do you establish or reestablish connection with your children? How do you be a father to your children from prison? And so having those very frank conversations, helping these guys really figure out how to turn their lives around so that they could be the best physically absent father they could be, but emotionally present for their children, even though there's a distance, even though they're in prison. You don't stop being a father. So how do you do that work? Engaging in conversations with black men around that, having them talk about the ways that they engage with their kids, through phone calls, through letters. That was so empowering. It was empowering for me to work with these men, and it was empowering for them to feel like I can do this. I can be better and do better so that my children, I don't want my children ending up here. And so part of my job is to help them not get here. I would love to do that program again and again and again because I see too many black men in prisons. But those are the kinds of conversations we need to have. Very frank conversations, and then the actions. So what do you do? Understand the trauma, and then do something about it.
I'm Ramaylan Downey. I'm from North Preston. I'm 21 years old. My relationship with my father has been good. At a young age, I never realized that him working all the time and him being away for work is a good thing. I used to always think that him being at work just means that him not being around. But now that I'm older, I realize him was always working and providing for the family. So me being older made me realize that it was good.
I would say that there are still systemic factors that oppress black men. So for example, in North America, welfare, when welfare developed in the, I don't know, the 50s and even earlier actually, with food stamps and different types of government aid to poor families. Single parents were able to receive more support than, when I say single parents, I should say single mothers with children were able to receive more support if they did not have a man living in their household. Now, I'm old enough to remember those days as a child in the 80s. My family was on welfare, and the welfare workers would come around in the community, and it would be a time when anybody who did have a man living with them, the man would just disappear. You know, he'd have to collect his shoes from in front of the, you know, in the front of the house. You know, you walk in, you kick off your shoes. Well, if a social worker came into your house and looked down and saw a pair of man's shoes, they'd ask, well, whose shoes do those belong? Whose feet do those shoes belong to, right? Because if you're supposed to be getting welfare, you're supposed to be getting welfare as a single mother, and if there's a man in this household, then you're not eligible for the welfare. And so that really sets up a dynamic where, in order for a black family to remain intact, they have to be completely self-sufficient, and they need to be able to resist that policing and that systematic kind of marginalizing of black men.
In my research, what I learned most about absent fathers is that most didn't want to be absent. Most wanted things to be different, but didn't know how to make that happen. So I think that we need to do more work in that area so that black men and black women who are struggling in this way find a pathway that's going to be best for the children. And I think sometimes people forget that. You know, when we're talking about black fathers and black absent fathers, there are children here who are part of this equation. What's the best way that we can help them?
Well, I watched most of my cousins and my brothers, I would say, grow up without no father. Not even most of them, all of them grow up with no father. I'm really the only one with a father, so I watched both angles from inside and out. So I would say that them growing up with no father definitely did damage on them, because if I look at the way I am and I look at the way they are, we come from the same place in the same house, and my life gave me a bit more promises and advantages than theirs did. So
if your adulthood was disrupted in some way, how do you learn how to be a father? There's no one teaching you how to do that. You learn it by osmosis. And if you had an absent father, you know, maybe you didn't learn that, or maybe if you had some disruption in your own family, the trauma. Racism is trauma. Living with daily trauma does something to you, mentally, emotionally, physically.
In North America, the largest number of us, the earliest numbers of us, came here as enslaved individuals. And so the black family was under siege and under attack from the very beginning. Families were brought here, they were torn away from their families. Often when African peoples arrived in North America, they would be not just removed from their family, but removed from people who spoke the same language, so that the people who enslaved them could better control them. And then once enslaved, of course, black people were, it's a very harsh thing to say, but I would say that our families were never allowed to be intact. Black men, black women had black babies, but not in a way in which they were allowed to be cohesive family units.
It's having a full family, all black people, that you never know what they could accomplish. And just, I don't know, just don't want to see black people up like that. I'm not going to blame it all on that, because we got our own personal issues and stuff, but, you know, system don't help. And everything we try, you know, We do it for family. And you know, try your best any way possible. And make sure you take care of your kids at all times. Keep in touch. Just be the best man you can be. You know?
Mothers and all of them personally, I know some of my brother's mothers did create that situation. So like I know for a fact, it's not always the father's fault. There's mothers that push their kid, their baby fathers away from their kids. So it's not always the father's fault. I know that for a fact, and I would blame it on the mother sometimes for them. But I don't, just because I don't want to be in a relationship with you, that means I don't want you to have a relationship with our kid. That type of thing. I've seen that with my own eyes. So
Not having a proper figure, a consistent male figure. You know, you're out in the streets trying to be like your next coolest buddy, you know, or the older head that you hang with. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a lot of dumb stuff happened trying to become myself and figure out, you know, that I don't really need a father figure. I'm gonna learn my own self regardless.
like my father started a business when I was a kid, and he named his business after my name. So when he quits his business, he's gonna pass it down to me. That's a father thing that he did. Growing up, watching them have no father, so there's nobody to do that for them unless it was a mother. That's an opportunity for me that I got that they'll never be able to have because they don't have the father to do it for them.
I wouldn't want to see my kids, or any other kid, not try their hardest, especially of what we're given today as black men. There's opportunities to do whatever you want, and whatever you put your mind to. There's no excuse for anything. All this stupidness with killing, all this bullshit with gangs and everybody talking that nonsense. Every black man should stick together. We all out here fighting the same fight. Why we gotta fight each other? And you know, everybody hustle hard, man. Make sure you wake up every day with an objective. And don't just be out here wandering. Don't just do nothing, right? There's a lot of distractions out here that you don't want to get stuck in. So, you know, make sure you stay busy, stay out of distractions. And always push for the next generation to be better. Everything you do needs to be better for the next generation. Create generational wealth.
The atmosphere that is countering the history of oppression and marginalization of black people, will that result in black families being more integrated and secure? I would hope so, but I would say we've got a long way to go. I think that we are just beginning to understand the way things like domestic violence operate in the black community. And so all of the history of resources to help families with domestic violence have not been effective in the black community, and so we're just turning our attention to that now. Our child welfare agencies are just beginning to understand that the way we help black families has to be different than the way we help white families.
In my research, what I learned most about absent fathers is that most didn't want to be absent. Most wanted things to be different, but didn't know how to make that happen. So I think that we need to do more work in that area so that Black men and Black women who are struggling in this way find a pathway that's going to be best for the children.
Before we judge Black men harshly as abandoning their families, we need to understand how Black families and Black men and Black women have been historically marginalized and targeted for maltreatment. And that in the face of that maltreatment, I think that the extent that Black folk are able to raise strong, healthy Black children is miraculous. I think of my own mother, who raised 6 children largely alone, who struggled to feed us, to keep us at home. I think that raising a Black family in this culture has always been a heroic undertaking, and we should be celebrating Black family rather than targeting Black family members with negative stereotypes.
We are back on Black Films That Teach. We've just watched Black Father. I'm here with Juliet Mawusi. That was your documentary, but it was also some scripted bits. So what made you decide to have some scripted segments in there?
Well, normally documentary, you just speak to the people, make them take their own story and all that. But this time we decided to change it a little bit in the beginning, So it wasn't like anything genius or anything like that. We just decided to script it a little bit from the beginning. I think the first part of it, I think, is less than 1 minute. That was just something that we decided to, change it a little bit.
Yeah. So what did you learn from your last documentary that you implemented into Black Father?
Oh, Morgan.
If there was anything. I'm sure you learned a lot along the way.
Morgan. Well, this one, the cinematography of it was more was professionally done. I should put it that way. Yeah. It was professionally done. And then we had so many editors on this one, because of the time frame. And then we had some really, really, really interesting people from the community. We have Senator Wanda on it. We have Robert Bride on it. He's really the pioneer when it comes to this kind of issues. We have him on it. We have so many interesting people, and then we had so many hands on this project. So it's it came out way beautiful and way organized than the first one. The first one was just me doing something for my grades. So that's the only thing that really stood out compared to if you compare both of them. Yeah.
So do you like that more collaborative experience versus just doing it yourself?
I do.
You do? Why is that?
I do. I mean, look around.
Yeah.
You know, like production is a whole village. It takes a whole village to do a production, you know? So like if you get it, it's God sent, you know? The first one, you have to do everything by yourself. You have to do all those kind of things. But like in an actual production, if you get like a PA, if you get a producer, if you get a director, if you get this, that, everybody will be holding from a different angle, but you guys are all doing the same thing, you know? So time-wise, it is really great. You know, production-wise, it is great because everybody comes with a dynamic field or different side of it that we all come together to make it up. You know, so it is marvelous when we all come together and work. I love that way. You know, because it's genius.
Yes. Yeah. So, was there during production? Was there something that you learned along the way that maybe you weren't expecting to?
Time. I mean, in a different way. I mean, we all know time is, you know, deadlines and all those. There are factors when it comes to production. But this particular film has been challenging, you know, because of the time frame again. And then also the people that I was supposed to interview, my subjects and all that. Yeah, it became more, some of them were like, the time frame is too small, like it's too much of a short notice and all those kind of things. Yeah, so that's the only thing challenging right now. And it was the editing part of it, but I have like tons of editors on it. So like we are good on that. But the time was the only thing challenging there.
So what are some other stereotypes beyond absent Black fathers that are perpetuated in the media about the Black community? I mean, there's a lot, but from your take.
There is a lot.
I know, there's so many. It's like, how much time do you have?
Do you have 3 hours to talk about it? I mean, if you do, we can start. There's a lot, you know. I mean, even Black boys, you know, they don't go to school, they don't do all those kind of things. Like if you see a Black boy, you may think that, oh, the person is going to steal, going to do all kinds of, you know, gun violence and all those kind of things. Like when it comes to Black stereotype, like I can't even think of the word to use for Black stereotype. It is like a war. You can't push it, you can't go through it. It just has to be there. You know, it's just sad. Sometimes it is not what they think of us. You know, sometimes what they think of us is it's definitely the opposite side. But because of where it's starting from, you know, slavery, generational trauma, you know, because of all these kind of things, it has, I'll say the beginning of it is all slavery. And because slavery has always been a thing and is always going to be a thing, stereotypes and Black myth is always going to be a thing. You know, I am very hopeful. You know, we say a little drop of water makes a mighty ocean. I am very hopeful that one day we will get up and say, ooh, we beat it. And I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm hopeful that we say one day we say we beat it. I mean, we have people who have gone before us to get this social works done. You know, we are also going to continue with it, with our works. You know, hopefully one day we'll just look back and see some sort of improvement. So is there another stereotype about Black people that you would like to tackle as another documentary? So you're trying to make me a stereotype producer, isn't it?
I mean, it could be your niche. I'm just saying, it could be your niche.
Well, I mean, not right now. Not right now. The next project that we are going to tackle will be exploring Black talents and Black gifts. You know, that's our next project. But like, I mean, my niche is addressing social issues and promoting social justice, you know, in the community. So hopefully that will be my next.
Just have a master list. You're like, all right, I did that one, I did that one.
I have a long list. I do have a long list. So you never know. But my next project is, you know, that as Black talent.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a timeline on that, or are you working on that now? Or
I just want to free my mind on this and sleep
Yeah.
a little bit. sleep a little bit, and afterwards begin. Yeah, tackle that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Juliet. This has been a great chat, and like I said, you can make the busting stereotypes your niche. Like,
We'll think about it.
I'm just saying. All right. And thank you for being here. And I'm sure we'll see your next documentary.
I'm very sure of that.
When that one's completed.
Yes,
so
I'm
I'll
very
be
sure of
waiting.
that.
Your seat will be waiting for you to come back.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
You've been
you.
watching Black Films That Teach. On this week's show, we watched Black Father, and I was chatting with Juliet Mawusi, the film's director. And I want to say thank you to TD for sponsoring the show, and thank you so much to the audience for watching. I'm Morgan Jessom. I'll see you next week.